Welcome everybody in the group today. I would like to introduce today Karen Hallsman, and I met Karen actually last year. We worked in the Advanced Burnout Coach certification together. Karen coaches women professionals in leadership through burnout. She's come from a background in HR, and I'm really fascinated to find out where she's got to since we last spoke. It's really excellent to have you on here today, Karen.
Thanks, Dex. I'm so excited to do this and to be talking with you again.
So just tell us a little bit, first of all, how you came to be interested in burnout. What was your path into this work?
Sure. So I started in human resources in the year 2000. And over that period, I started to kind of really focus on benefits, like employee benefits in the US, which I really enjoyed. But it was when I got to do management development training that I really felt like, oh, this is more like what I really want to do. And I got my bachelor's and my master's in psychology in the 90s. But I decided not to go the therapist route because I felt like there's just something missing. I'm not sure quite what it is, but I don't know if I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So years later, I found out about coaching, and I kind of merged my psychology background, management training, and then coaching kind of all together into realizing what a great resource that is for women like me and like so many women that I've worked with who were in the corporate world and working their butts off and just finding themselves exhausted all the time. But why? And not really knowing why. We think we know why, but we don't really quite know. We can't quite pinpoint it in a way that I think can be as massively helpful as coaching has been for me. So I wanted to take my psychology background and then the strengths background. I'm also a certified Gallup Global Strengths Coach, which I started doing back actually in 2009. I was taking groups of managers through strengths training. Like I put together this 4-hour training and just started doing it for all of our managers. And I was like, there's a way to marry all of this together. So that's basically what I've done. So I quit my corporate job last year and have been slowly kind of working my way into going full-time, which is where I'm at right now, full-time coaching.
Okay, cool. And what caused you then to focus on the burnout aspect? Is that just what kept coming up in your clients?
Yes, and in me and in all of my friends. So I have so many coworkers and former coworkers in the field of HR for the last 20 years, and we're always in touch. We always talk, and it's always coming up. So it's just such a part of the conversation. And actually, at first, I thought I wanted to do weight loss coaching. And I'm glad that I tried it because I did. I went on Instagram and I said, hey, 6 people, like I'm looking for 6 people who want to do 6 weeks of coaching, no cost, and I'm going to help you. And I liked it, but I didn't like it. I just discovered this is not for me. So I kind of went back to what do I love? What do I always talk about? What are all the things that come up in all of my conversations? And it always came down to strengths language, and then how to use that to be more engaged in your work so that you're really getting to a place where, because you're more engaged, you find that, oh, now I'm energized at work. Now I'm focusing on what's working instead of thinking about constantly focusing on what's not working. And so it just kind of came together perfectly. And last year, when I saw you talking about burnout and you talked about it at Mastermind, I was like, that's the niche. That's where I can put all of these things together, because that's what we're all experiencing. And I think I have the answers to help people.
I'm sure you do. Having worked with you particularly.
Some tools that can help a lot of people.
Enough tools, right? That's all we need. We need enough tools. We need just a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of coaching knowledge, and a little bit of tools.
Yeah.
And to understand burnout a little bit. And so since I last spoke with you, then where has your journey been taking you? Because that was, would have been July last year, August last year.
Yeah.
Where's your journey gone since then?
So in August was actually my last day at my corporate job, my full-time corporate job. But in July, I said yes to a temp consulting gig with my best friend, who's a CHRO at a small company that needed to just kind of have benefits started up from scratch. And I'm like, oh yeah, it'll be part-time. That'll be cool. Yeah, I'll do that part-time while I'm starting my coaching business. And I'm glad that I did it, but it really turned out to be quite full-time and quite a lot more than I think any of us anticipated. So slight derailment, but like we said a minute ago, when we were first talking, that plans are sometimes just guidelines and you just never know what's going to happen. So I just kind of went with it. And it was actually a really interesting lesson because I really learned how to identify that I was having thoughts about, oh, now I'm behind, or now my business is getting started later than I wanted. And that, it's just, there was like a frustration there. And I just, through the help of coaching and self-coaching, learned how to kind of manage that and just get to a place where I was just happy about, I never really stopped, right? I just kept taking one little step after another to get the business going. And it was slow going, but I kept going. And that's what kind of shifted my mindset on that, where I was like, not worried about where I'm at. And like, I wish I could be there already. I was just like, this is what I'm doing right now, and it's all good. And so that was just an interesting process, a byproduct of kind of going through that experience. That's just kind of a side note. Yeah.
Well, it's a very fortunate path, really. Whatever comes into our path is normally augmenting the power that we have and our ability to help people. So I think in the end, it doesn't really matter as long as you can put food on the table, your journey will unfold how it unfolds.
Yeah.
And we talked about ways of accelerating it, and you had that plan, and you have accelerated it just in a slightly different track than you were expecting to.
Yeah.
So go on. Please.
I was going to say, speaking of different track, I've had some opportunities come up that I was not expecting. So I am mainly a one-on-one coach who I want to work one-on-one with people and help them through burnout. I do that with the foundation of, they take the Clifton Strengths Assessment. We look at those, we see what are the genius, and then what's the blind spots that come with those strengths. And we take that and then we start coaching from there. But because several of my coworkers, my former coworkers, have gone on to different companies, they actually have asked me, hey, could you maybe bring strengths training to my company? Or could you do this for my company? And it's just been growing. I offered to do a strength session to my professional benefits group a few weeks ago. And out of that, now I'm going to meet with the leadership team at the company that hosted it for us. And I'm going to take their leaders through, about 4 hours of strengths training. And I really love doing that. So it's kind of not what I quite expected, but I love doing it. And I'll take any opportunity to share that with people and to help people. So, and now I'm just navigating working the business side of it, which is, okay, I really want to coach one-on-one clients. I also want to be able to offer this to employers. And then I also am working in now a new component of really helping to a certain degree. I'm not going to be a full somatic experiencing practitioner, but being able to bring in somatic experiencing work into coaching to help people manage their nervous system a bit, because I find with burnout, a lot of times the body needs to be taught first, and then the mind can be addressed, right? Once the body has kind of come to a place that's a little bit safer, it's got to be done in that order. So that's kind of the next evolution of the journey.
Yeah, and I personally love that somatics, energetic, bodily work, feelings work, something I think is so foundational to any burnout experience, where the nervous system is on fire almost daily, perpetually, practically. Something needs to bring that down before any mind work will really stick for people.
Yes.
So I'm glad to hear that. That's interesting. I might have to chat with you about this later.
Yeah.
So let's come down to the tips then. What tips do you have for the coaches who are listening in working with burnout? What's your special sauce?
Well, in terms of specifically working with burnout, I think that I think my biggest lesson was kind of what I just mentioned, is you just having that mental flexibility and flexibility with your plan, and to kind of think of the whole coaching journey as a journey, and that you're going to always be learning new tools and things that can help people. And it can be tempting to want to say, oh, well, now I need to maybe do this, or maybe I should get certified in that. And, you and I think have talked about this quite a bit in our ABC program, which is that's not always necessary, right? It's great if you want to think of it as, oh, this can build on what I've already got, but it's not necessary to make you a good coach now. Like, you can do it now. You can do it with the knowledge that you have now. And if it sounds fun and exciting to build on that, and it's your passion and you're like, oh yes, this feels good in here, then go for it. And then also just kind of going back to following that path, being patient with the process and celebrating. You always say to celebrate wins. And that was really helpful for me, is celebrate every single little win that you have in building your business and in your own practice, and also your clients' wins, and noticing those and helping them celebrate their wins as well. Because I think people in burnout do not do that enough. They only see what isn't versus what is. And that goes all the way back to strength psychology, which is what would happen if we focus on what's right with people than on what's wrong with them. What if we focus on what's working versus what is not?
Yeah, I spend an awful lot of time on my clients with that.
Yeah.
And most of us have not grown up with a habit of noticing the good or being kind and appreciative of ourselves. Gratitude we may have, because everybody knows about gratitude, but I think self-appreciation, straight past.
Yeah.
For most of my clients.
Subtle. Yeah. It's a subtle difference, but it's so important. And I didn't think about it really until you really kind of drove it into us, like celebrate those little wins. What are all those little things that are working? Sometimes they seem so small that we think it doesn't matter, but it actually really does. Because when you look back on all of them, you realize how big that kind of group of small wins really is, the cumulative effect. That's powerful.
Enormous. I actually set it for my clients as a daily exercise for a whole month.
That's right. Yes. That's good. Yep.
So what else is coming into your mind that you'd like to share today? Something popped up while we've been talking?
I think so. Last night I went to Pepperdine University out here in Malibu, and I saw John Clifton speak. He's the CEO of Gallup, and he wrote a book called Blind Spot, The Rise of Global Unhappiness and How Leaders Missed It. And he was just speaking to the book. So I had already read it, but I loved hearing what he, the main points that he wanted to bring out of it. And I think something that I drive home for people all the time is that Gallup research shows that career well-being is, of all the 5 elements of well-being, it's the number 1 most important. If your career well-being is ranked high in your perception, then your other 4 elements of well-being are also going to be ranked high. And that is physical, community, social, and there's one more.
It's a test, Karen. You've got to tell us the last one.
And but they
Family,
found
probably.
Here. What was that?
Family, probably.
Maybe relationships. Yeah, I think so. But the key finding being that career is, like, in a way, the most important, right? It's the biggest one. And it's because that's where we spend most of our waking hours. Yes. But also, if you don't feel engaged in what you're doing, you're going to be miserable. And actually, a direct quote from John last night was, if you're miserable at work, your life will be miserable. Right. And so it's so important to see the connection. And if somebody is a coach and or a leader of people, just being aware of that, and that it's not our responsibility to solve everyone's problems, but we can help increase their well-being at work. And if we can help their well-being at work in meaningful, tangible ways, then that will just have a ripple effect on everybody's overall well-being. And that strengths theory, again, comes right into this, because Gallup research also shows that if you are actively working on in your areas of strength where you're most naturally talented, and I love how they define talent. It's it's your naturally recurring patterns of thought, feeling, and behavior. It's the middle of the model, right? That can be applied productively. So if you're using those talents in a way that makes you feel engaged, and you're feeling that good energy, you're feeling energized and motivated naturally because of who you are naturally, you're not just going to love what you do, you're going to love your life, right? There's going to be problems are going to happen. We can help you through those, but it's just a huge contributor. And if we can get that area and we can help people love their work again, and even maybe somebody doesn't want to stay in their current job. Sometimes leaving the job is the answer, or a career switch might be the answer.